Well, obviously it was a great win against Texas A&M, but finished the season 12-0. We're very proud of that. A lot of respect for Kirby and what he's done at Georgia. Very talented football team, winning program. It's going to be one heck of a challenge. But we're going to have an excellent week of practice, and we look forward to this great matchup.
Coach, to start you off with Brooks Cabana, the Advocate.
Now that you're here for this championship game here, and from day to day, you talked about it week to week. How have you organized your time, the way you guys work, to go into a postseason like this where you have, multiple games perhaps ahead?
We feel like we scaled back on practice last couple of weeks. We feel that we have a very good formula where we can get our work in and also keep our guys fresh. There will not be a lot of hitting during the week, but there will be some full-speed work, but it's not a lot of tickling to the ground or contact. So we feel that we're able to play very fast by the way we're practicing.
And do you sense the magnitude of this with your players? I know it's something you've tried not to bring up, but it's playing at all at this moment.
Yeah, they're gonna be excited about it, but this is a mature team, and obviously it's an honor to be in the game, to play for the SEC championship. That's what you want when you come to school here. So it's gonna be a great game. It'll be a great atmosphere. So our guys understand the magnitude of it, but I really have confidence in this team's mental approach that it's the next game up.
Thank you.
Next is Murray Poole, Bulldog Illustrated.
Yeah, Coach, I know you had a good running game last season, but is the Joe Burrow's passing and the prolific offense you've had this year, has that helped the running game it even more with Clyde Edwards-Hilaire and the rest of the running backs?
Sure. It's just a matter of the numbers game. They commit too many people to the run. The pass is open, and we open it up with a lot of passes. It opens up the run game. There's a gap short, or that's part of the spread offense. So, and also, I think Clyde has emerged to be one of the top backs in the country. He's making people miss. He has a great concept of the offense. We're using him out the backfield. He's become a weapon.
Okay, thank you.
Got it.
Next is Chip Howard of KZNE.
Ed, how much did you challenge your defense before the A&M game last week, and how do you think they responded?
I think that it wasn't more or less a direct challenge. It was more or less a fixing the things that were broke. And I thought Dave Miranda did a great job of dialing up pressures. We put more pressure on the quarterback than we had all year. We had 6 sacks. I thought our coverage was tighter. It was a great atmosphere. Our guys wanted this game very badly, and it showed.
How much, when you look at what you guys have done on the offensive side of the football, how much was it helpful for you to give them a little rest in the second half of that game?
I think it's critical. I think it's critical that towards the stretch here, especially our receivers who run a bunch of routes every day in practice, Joe to get a little rest, his arm is a little tired, Clyde to get a little rest. I think he's going to help down the stretch.
Thank you.
Steve Moulton of WGZ.
Hey, Coach, how are you today?
Well, great, man. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Being a defensive line guy, I can't help but want to give a thought or two on Tyler Clark, number 52, along that defensive front for Georgia. What have you seen out of him this year, Coach?
Quick, dominant. I've watched a lot of their tape because obviously I've studied the offensive lines that we're going to go against. I think they're very well coached. I think Tyler Clark's probably one of the best defensive linemen that we're going to play all year. This is an outstanding defense. Obviously, the best defense that we played all year. And it starts with their defensive line. They're very well coached. They're agile. They move. They can take on blocks, slant, pass rush well. They do it all.
If I could focus on your team now, I realize we're a day ahead, but tell the truth Monday tomorrow. What are some truths about this team and what they've told you about themselves this year to you, Coach?
Character, leadership, poise, very focused, obviously very talented. I think we have some outstanding assistant coaches. One team, one heartbeat. We're playing for each other. Those type of things that we preach.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Next is Dan Matthews, the Chuck Oliver Show.
Hey, Coach, early on in your tenure, you had that famous press conference where your answer was, "We're coming." What made you confident in saying that at the time that made you believe that where you're at today was possible?
I felt after that game that we had matched the physicality of Alabama. I felt that we were 2 or 3 plays away from being right there. And obviously they were the benchmark. And everything that we had to do was on a daily basis was to compete with them. And I think we're competing with them in recruiting. Obviously we beat them on the field. Although I do respect their program and the job Coach Saban has done. It's just a benchmark to compete with.
And, I mean, all coaches face criticism and people who are going to say that they're not so-and-so or whatever. But, I mean, is there kind of a part of you, though, that where you guys are, you kind of want to say, well, look at us now, look at me now?
Not at all. It'll never be about that.
I think.
Next is Chip Towers of the AJC.
How you doing, Coach?
Chip, I read your stuff all the time, man. How you doing?
Well, I apologize for that, man.
AJC recruiting, man. I used to like that stuff too, man.
Yeah, I remember that well. Listen, so clearly you guys you want to spread everybody out and get those terrific receivers one-on-one with the DBs. Can you look at Georgia's? Can you give an honest assessment when you look at those cornerbacks? They seem to be pretty good in man-to-man. What do you think about that matchup specifically? And can you compare it to any of the other teams that you've played this season?
Well, it's early. Obviously, we graded the film of Texas A&M. We had recruits in. We just got a scouting report on Georgia, so our guys are breaking it down. But we do have a preliminary scouting report. Kirby's done a phenomenal job. This is the best defense we faced all year. They'll pressure, they'll play man, they'll play zone. I think it's overall comprehensive of the pass rush that they have and their abilities to cover one-on-one. I think that's what makes them outstanding.
Can you compare them to anybody else you played? I guess Auburn's about close to a close game.
Yeah, I think similar defense. The best defense we've played so far is Auburn. And, just from the little bit I watched, they're very similar, a little bit different in a couple of spots, but very similar.
Thanks, Coach.
Next is David Pascal of Chattanooga Free Press.
Hey, Ed, you guys obviously built off of what you did last year, got off to a good start, got on the national radar quick, but here you are last night saying we just played our best game of the year, most complete game of the year. What did you guys do last night that maybe you weren't even doing a month ago that you liked?
Yeah, defense. We had 6 sacks. I don't know what 160 yards total offense to Texas A&M, a team that we struggled with last year. We had been struggling on giving up a lot of yards and points on defense. So I thought overall, for most of the season, our offense has been playing phenomenal. And then our defense has finally played the way I think they're capable of. So I was proud of that. We had 2 50-yard field goals by a freshman kicker. So I thought overall it was probably our most complete game.
And I know you kind of touched on it earlier about some tweaks that have been made on the defensive side of the ball, but your defensive players have been hearing things all year that haven't been very complimentary. I mean, even last week you get moved down and the chairman says it's the defensive piece, and of course that's after a game. I guess y'all were up 56-6 on Arkansas and put the subs in and gave up a couple of fourth quarter. Have you noticed some inward motivation from your guys that they're getting tired of hearing this kind of national discussion about LSU being good except on defense?
Yeah. We have a saying there. We talk about blocking out the noise. And so it's very important, as you know today, all the information that's out there. But I do believe, without us mentioning, there's internal motivation, and they want to definitely prove they can be an outstanding defense. And I do believe our best defensive games are yet to come.
Thank you.
is Paul Newberry, the Associated Press.
Hi, Ed. A couple of things. One, kind of the thought going into this is that Georgia obviously has to win to get into the playoff, but most people seem to think LSU's probably in whether you win or lose on Saturday. Do you worry about that taking any of the edge off your guys, or do you feel that's at least a fair assessment of where things are?
No, that thought process will never enter our mind. And again, I told the team that we got to finish the season. We got to finish the SEC championship, and then let's see what we rank. And then wherever we rank, we got to go play. We got to win anyway. And then that's why it's called the playoffs. You got to win. So none of that stuff matters right now. We got to win this football game. This is a big football game for our team, and that's all we're thinking about.
One more thing: does playing in Atlanta give Georgia any edge, just being so close to home for them?
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be a big crowd there, but LSU is going to travel well. They're going to be loud and proud. I expect it to be a great crowd for both sides. It'll be a tremendous SEC matchup.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Next is Amos Morale of the WWL.
Hey, Coach. I was just wondering. Oh, doing all right. How about you this afternoon?
Good.
All right, Coach. I was just wondering how much some of the bigger games you've played, whether it's going on the road to Alabama or going on the road to Texas, how much you think that's helped prepare the team for this type of environment?
I think it's going to help. The crowd noise. We practice crowd noise. We're going to practice crowd noise this week. Going out there and make the plays that we've made in a hostile environment. We're going to need them again.
And, Coach, I know you, throughout the season, shown that you're willing to change the schedule to, kind of give yourself an advantage. Do you foresee anything or any schedule change, dealing with the SEC championship game, festivities?
No, we're going to have a great week of practice. We scaled down practice a little bit the last couple of weeks, and we're going to continue to scale it down. Our guys are going to be fresh. We're going to leave on Thursday night instead of Friday, and practice in the Dome on Friday, and have a regular business trip.
Thanks, Coach.
Next is Glenn Gilbo of the USA Today Network. Glenn, are you there? Glenn Gilbo, can you hear me? Glenn, is that you? All right, we're going to drop Glenn for the time being, and let's try Mark Weiser, the Athens Banner Herald.
Hey, and I guess I've heard you describe Joe Brady as a game changer on your staff. I wanted to ask kind of how that is. What's he done that you say that?
Well, first of all, he's very intelligent. His presentation is phenomenal. He's done a tremendous job of coaching our wide receivers. He and Steve Ensminger get along fine. Great. He has implemented the spread offense, something that we wanted to learn. He's brought the Saints passing game to us. Penn State's RPOs. The guy's a phenomenal coach, phenomenal young man. He's in the box with Steve. Steve calls most of the plays, but Joe's there to make suggestions. Joe may call some plays. But meant a lot to our football team. He's helped us transition into the spread offense. He's been a game changer.
I want to ask you also, does Georgia's experience in the SEC championship game 3 years in a row now, you think that'll benefit them at all with some of the guys that have played on the stage?
I'm sure it gives them some confidence, obviously. I think that those guys have been there before. So, I'm sure that they'll think that'll give them some confidence. But you know what? We have a mature team. And these guys are going to be focusing on what we can control. I think they'll be fine.
Thank you.
Next is Mike Griffith of the AJC.
Hey, Coach. I heard you said that your best defensive football is ahead of you. What have you seen from Jake Fromm this year? Obviously, he's completed less than 50% of his passes the last 4 games. And how similar is their offense to the one that you guys beat down there in Baton Rouge last year.
Yeah, again, I have to tell you it's early. We've been focusing on Texas A&M. I've just received a scouting report on their defense. We're fixing to do a scouting report on their offense. I've watched 2 games. Obviously, we have a lot of respect for their talent, and I know they have a couple of receivers out. Big, strong offensive lineman, outstanding back. Can go pro style and can go spread, very multiple. I have a lot of respect for Jake. I think he's an excellent quarterback and excellent leader. That's all I can tell you for right now.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we'll go back and try one more time with Glenn Gilbo.
Hello, Coach. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Glenn, how you doing?
Okay, good. Sorry about that. My wife muted me there. You were on staffs that were playing for championships and the like as an assistant coach, and you were up for jobs. What is your policy to assistants that might be getting interest now? Now I'm talking about Brady as y'all's postseason goes on.
Yeah, well, obviously, when you have great assistants, people are going to come after. And obviously, we're going to do everything we can to fight for the guys that we want to stay. Now, if a guy has a head job, there's something that we can't match, or something that he really wants, you got to let him go. But as far as Joe, we're going to fight to keep him here as much as we can. And we've had some preliminary conversations with him, and everything seems positive right now.
Thank you.
Next is Maya Patel, the Red and Black.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned that you've gotten the defensive scouting report for Georgia already. I'm just curious as to where have you seen Georgia improve or change the most defensively this year compared to 2018 from the tape you've watched of this season?
Yeah, I think that defensive line is phenomenal. Ed Clark is something else. Number 13, that freshman Ujulari is a great rusher off the edge. I think they run the big, they're physical, they're well coached. Kirby's an outstanding defensive coach. They have an outstanding staff. I think the biggest thing that I'm impressed with Georgia's defense is how to get all 11 hats to the football. They do a tremendous job of tackling in the open field and hustling to the ball.
And then, Coach, Kirby has mentioned a little bit this year, all year, that one metric he's employed is wreaking havoc defensively. Is that something that you guys have looked at as well on your staff?
Yeah, no question. Obviously, we had 6 sacks last week. You have to attack these spread offenses. If you sit back, they can shred you apart. So you can see the tackles for loss, the stunts that they're doing, the blitzes that they're doing, and that's all to create negative plays, which helps you win games.
Thank you.
Good.
We have another from Brooks Cabina.
And Kirby Smart said a few minutes ago that this is such a classic matchup because both these teams have been battle tested throughout the year. I mean, how have you witnessed that yourself through this season, and what have you seen from them, and how much do you think that plays into this one?
Well, look at the schedule we play. Look at the schedule we play and the teams that they beat. Outstanding Auburn team, outstanding Florida team, great athletes all over the place. They lost to South Carolina, they bounced back. They didn't blink. So there's a lot. They face some adversity. They climbed the hill back. They're back in the championship team. So it says a lot about their character and their leadership and their coaching staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is Paul Niebuhr, the Associated Press.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned you kind of touched on it. They've got a couple of receivers. Pickens will be out for the first half. Cager apparently is done for the year, and also Swift got shoulder banged up against Georgia Tech the other day. Does that any edge for you guys with some questions about guys missing and maybe injury statuses of a couple of their big offensive guys?
Obviously, a big game like this, people miraculously get well towards the end of the week, and so we expect their best players to play. And a team like Georgia, they've recruited well. I'm sure they have some young guys. And we have the same thing. We call it next man up theory. I'm sure they have the next man up theory. and they're going to play just as well as the starter. So I don't think that's going to be an advantage for us at all.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Next is Steve Moulton, WDZ.
Hey, Coach.
What's up, Steve?
But where do you feel like you are depth-wise? Because it's usually a backup that sometimes makes that big play in a championship game that is a difference maker.
You know, I think that it's really helped that we had to sit Grant Delpit out, so we've got some depth and safety now, a little depth, not a lot. We have more depth on the offensive line that we have. We feel like we have depth at every other position, so we feel like we're in good shape to make a run.
And you mentioned Grant Delpit. Tell me where you think he's at right now. I know it's Sunday, Coach, but his progression this week to get him ready for Saturday.
Yeah, I talked to the trainer. He's a little sore, but I thought he's played very well. I think he should be as close to full speed this Saturday as he's ever been.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
This is Dan Matthews, Chuck Oliver Show.
Hey, Coach, just want to do the go back in time question here. Obviously, Joe Burrow has become what he has, but can you just take us back to the initial visit with him? What were your first impressions of him and where it's come from then?
Yeah, my biggest impression of Joe, well, first of all, he didn't want a lot of recruiting jargon. He came here, it was a business trip. We had a football meeting, and it was about I guess 3 or 4 hour meeting, and there were 5 people in that meeting, including me. And Joe was the smartest guy in there, and I was very impressed with that and his knowledge of football, the way he could verbalize what he saw in the film, what he wanted to get done, what type of plan that we had for him, the things that he liked, the things that he didn't. I thought it was a tremendous meeting.
And, I mean, a follow-up to that, I mean, when you're going through practices with him, I mean, because, correct me if I'm wrong, he wasn't there for the spring, but when you're going through those August fall camp practices, I mean, are you kind of thinking to yourself, like, how is this guy here and not competing up at Ohio State for that job?
You know what? It didn't start off that fast, to be honest with you. No, he came in when he came in, we were running 110s, and he beat everybody in the 110s. He competed and he kept his mouth shut. And eventually he started winning the team over. But to be honest with you, in fall camp, it wasn't a no-brainer. He was competing with some other guys. The competition was very close. He was learning a new offense. So I think it wasn't until about mid-year that we really saw the difference in Joe Burrow. And then at the end, the Texas A&M game when he ran the football a lot, and then his bowl game was his best game. So I think it was a mental process that he took this team over.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Next one, Chip Howard, KZNE.
Coach, I know your goal Saturday evening is to have one more point than Georgia. I'm wondering, just with style of play, if you had to draw it up, would it be a higher scoring kind of game that you guys have played quite a bit of this year?
You know, you never can tell. You know, like you said, it's to win the game, but you know, we don't play for like style and points and stuff like that. We just want to win, man. We want to play well to win. I have a lot of respect for Georgia, and just win the game any way we can.
Thank you.
Next is Steve Moulton, WDZ.
Hey, Coach, I did have a follow-up about Kirby Smart and what he does disguise-wise on the defensive side of the football. How hard is it to read what Kirby is doing on the defensive side of the football, Coach?
And again, we just started, but I think if you stay in, traditional formations, everybody has traditional disguises, and he's very good at it. But, we also have some formation where it's hard to disguise. And I know we'll have a plan. I know our guys are able to have a plan against anything anybody can give us. We've shown that all year, and I feel confident we can do it again.
And, Coach, if I could take you back to when Les Miles hired you at LSU, of going back to those conversations after USC, think he took a year off. Tell me about the process of getting hired there as the defensive line coach under Les Miles.
I was very grateful. I've had a great relationship with Coach Miles throughout the years. Respected him, and he respected me. And there was an opportunity for me to come aboard. I respected it. I love being the defensive line coach here, and I like working with Coach Miles. He has been very good to me.